From our earliest beginning, farming and the family farm have been a mainstay of American history. In 1785, Thomas Jefferson wrote, "Cultivators of the earth are the most valuable citizens. They are the most vigorous, the most independent, the most virtuous, and they are tied to their country and wedded to its liberty and interest by the most lasting bonds." Less than 2% of Americans are farmers. Today's farmers must utilize thousands of acres to make a profit and pay for ever more expensive equipment and supplies. Using a mixture of traditional values and modern science while striving to maintain family values and independence. Increasingly, corporate farms are in direct competition with the family farm. While they may increase corporate profits, they don't increase American values to be passed down to future generations, and they will never replace the American family farm.
My name is Bob Beakley. I'm a farmer in Ellis County, Texas, near Ennis. I began farming 40 years ago. I have just finished farming, completed my 40th year. We grow cotton, which this year we'll have our highest number of acres in cotton this year. But we also have started growing sunflowers over the last couple of years. And we grow wheat and we grow corn. Steve and I together work about 8,200 acres of cultivated land. And then we have pasture land to accommodate approximately 450 head of mother cows as well. This year we'll have about approximately 2,500 acres in sunflowers. We'll have about 2,800 acres in cotton. We've got about 1,100 to 1,200 acres in corn. And we've got about 1,100 acres of wheat. That's our crop for this year. This is a 24-row, 30-inch apart row planter, 60 feet wide. This is in contrast to what we used to use when I first began farming in 1970. We planted with 6 rows at that time. So it's gone from 6 to 24. And of course, the cost of equipment has gone up as well, maybe a lot faster than the number of rows, really. But this is a pretty expensive piece of equipment here, but it does a lot of work. We can plant upward of 300 acres a day with this planter. Farming is changing more rapidly now than it ever has. One of the things that has revolutionized farming more than anything else is genetically modified plants. About 90% of all the seeds we grow, including cotton, corn, soybeans, and perhaps some other crops, are genetically modified to where we can use a more specific herbicide that will clean our fields to where we don't have to plow. In some cases, it also makes it resistant to insects so that chemical applications can be reduced. Sunflowers are a very interesting crop to grow. We've had a lot of fun growing sunflowers. They draw a lot of attention, especially when they're young and up until the heavy bud stage before they bloom. They seem to follow the sun. In the morning they'll face the sun on the east, in the afternoon they'll be turning toward the west. Of course, when that bloom gets heavy, then they face east just about all the time then.
Yeah, I tell you what, you get these things used to corn and hay, They'll follow you anywhere you want to go.
Presently, our cow-calf operation consists of about 600 mama cows run on mostly open range, which is open pasture. And we grow most of the feed that the cattle consume, including, of course, pasture, hay, and sometimes corn. And we do most of our own veterinary work.
He is too funny.
The cows in each pasture are rounded up periodically to check for problems, kill flies, earmark or brand for identification, and the calves are weaned to take to market. Steer calves are sold at 5 to 650 pounds. Heifers are either sold or kept for future production. Whole cows are taken to market also. Sometimes our larger pastures, we hire some cowboys to come in and help us pen. These guys are getting harder and harder to find as there are fewer cowboys as time goes on. Some of our smaller pastures, we just lead the cows in the lot with a bucket of corn or some kind of feed. This particular pasture has around 700-800 acres in it, and we run about 100 head of cattle in it. And we have one full-time employee to only take care of the cattle.
Now, Gary, you're actually you're what we call a real cowboy. You're actually a cowboy for a living.
All my life.
All your life, that's right. There's not many of them around anymore.
Well, our daddy hauled us around everywhere, and when we stopped to eat, most of the time our eating was an RC Cola and a peanut butter.
We put up about 2,000 rolls of hay this year. Of course, the biggest variable we have is the weather. Sometimes it rains too much and we can't get our crops in timely. Sometimes it doesn't rain enough and we don't make the kind of yields that we need. Sometimes it's just right, and that's when we seem to do best. But the weather is always a variable that enters into the picture as to whether our operation is profitable or not. This part of the country, we are completely 100% dependent upon rainfall for our moisture, as there's no irrigation in this area whatsoever. At the present time, we have about 5 or 6 full-time employees, and from time to time we do hire additional part-time employees, seasonal employees I would call them. Some of these guys that work with us full-time have been with me for almost 30 years. So I've been very fortunate in being able to keep good guys once we're able to find them. One of the most difficult things in getting started farming, as I see it today, would be the cost of equipment. Each one of these pieces of equipment might cost anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000 a piece. So this makes it impossible for a person to be able to farm on a small scale and make a living, because it takes a lot of acres to pay for this kind of equipment. Some wonder why we continue to get larger and larger in our farming. Let me give you an example. In 1950, my dad bought a pickup that cost about 10 bales of cotton. This year I bought a pickup and it cost about 140 bales of cotton. So in order for me just to stay even with what was happening some 60 years ago, I must be much larger in order to be efficient. Steve's in this farming operation with me, and he's right here to take his picture. He's been with me about 20 years. and he's supposed to know more about it than I do. Educated on the farm and in the classroom.
We all educated, don't we?
It's John Ashcraft. He's been with us about 5 years.
Yeah, about 8 altogether. 7, something like that.
Well, are you a natural farmer, man?
Oh, unfortunately.
Well, now you're a farmer / cowboy.
Jack of all trades.
Let me ask you this. Do you own your own horse?
Yes.
There you go.
That I do.
That's what we call cowboy.
Okay. Good definition, I suppose.
Planting is a time that you look forward to because you always anticipate doing better this year than last. So it's a time of looking forward. It's a time when you need to have your planting all done and ready to go, and you've had to be flexible up to this time, and now it's time to go. Harvest can be the most stressful time of the year because it's so important that it is done timely. It's also the most rewarding time because finally, after a year's preparation, after watching your crop go all year, and after keeping the insects out and keeping the weeds out, and waiting and praying for the rain to come timely, finally you get a payday. We use GPS to guide our tractors and combines to achieve maximum coverage with no overspray of chemicals or waste of seed in planting and harvesting operations. GPS also steers our equipment and makes our rows straighter than we could ever do on our own. Marketing can be one of the most important part of our business. And in 1983, I began building my storage facilities. Started out with one 50,000 bushel grain tank. The next year I built another 50,000 bushel tank. In 1995, I built the third 50,000 bushel tank. And then in 2005, Stephen and I together built our large tank, 110,000 bushel tank. And then we also built our scales and our elevator leg. And this allows us to be much more efficient with marketing our crops. This is something that everybody can relate to their food right here. It goes directly into bread and stuff like that, you know.
First invented in the 1930s, today's modern combines are a marvel of years of tried and true farming techniques, blended with the newest innovations. Together they create a super efficient farm harvesting machine. Efficient controls with a one-man operator is the goal. Portability between different field locations is also a key ingredient.
Dry land farming is a descriptive phrase used to describe most of the agriculture in Texas. Farmers are completely dependent on Mother Nature for the moisture needed to grow and mature their crops. All phases of farming from planting to harvest are at the mercy of nature and rainfall, or the lack of rainfall. Most of us see rainfall as an inconvenience for our travels and daily lives, not as a determining factor for our food supply. Cotton not only provides us with most of the clothes we wear, but also is a valuable export to the entirety of the world.
Of course, land and the weather are key factors in any farming operation. Farmland is in direct competition with other types of land usage, such as industrial, urban, and even residential. Farming and ranching values are on the bottom of the scale as far as return on investments. Farmland usage in today's real estate market cannot even come close to paying for itself when you add your taxes, county taxes, state, local taxes on top of the land value. Farming could easily be a losing proposition. So, how do we make a living? In our situation, leasing farmland allows us to make a profit. Perhaps if everything else works out, if we have enough rain, prices are stable, the fuel is not too high. A lot of ifs. A lot of ifs in farming. Most of the acres that we farm are leased on a yearly basis from current landowners. Many of the landowners have inherited family farms from their parents or other relatives. Large tracts of land can be difficult to sell, and farming has become so expensive that many landowners choose to make an income from leasing rather than farming it themselves. When the land is in farm use, it also receives special tax exemptions, which allows farmers to have a chance at making a profit from its use as a producing farm. As farmers, of course, we would rather own the land we work, but we do what we can with what we have, one day, one rain, one crop at a time. Cotton gins are a long-time staple of activity in Ellis County. Once there, it is sent inside the machine that separates the fiber from the seeds and also takes out any trash or other plant residue.
What it's like when it comes into the gin.
The cotton seed may be made into cooking oil or even perhaps into animal food. Once the seed is extracted from the lint, the cotton is sent down another conveyor and is compressed into bales that weigh around 500 pounds each. A sample of each bale is taken to check for quality. With that test, the price per pound is determined. Most of the cotton produced in the U.S. is exported to foreign countries. Cotton bales are trucked to where they are made into cloth, then into clothing and other products that make their way back to us, thus completing the cycle from farmer to your closet. Being a farmer isn't easy. Every day has its challenges, problems, and even adventures. But it's never dull. Being your own boss has its advantages. When the sun rises tomorrow morning, most farmers will already be at work, working not only for themselves, but for their families, for their children, for their grandchildren, and for all Americans who have worked in agriculture and who have fed and clothed America and a large portion of the world, and who consider it a privilege to be able to tell anyone who will listen to them above the roar of the machinery, yes, I am an American farmer.